Hello and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Video Mastermind, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry, technology, and services to help you create more videos to use in your mortgage business. Well, hey there! Happy Friday and welcome to our Mortgage Video Mastermind weekly call. Almost weekly. We weren't here last week. I was actually in Hawaii taking a little time off. So my name is Ginger Bell, and today I have with me Scott Shang, and it's just the two of us. I know Fraser is at an executive retreat, and Carl's getting a root canal. So not a fun day for Carl. But we're excited.
Hopefully the show today will not be like getting a root canal. Hopefully it will be fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. So welcome everyone. We are live. We did change over to doing this on StreamYard, mostly because I was not able to figure out how to do Facebook, and right now I'm getting feedback. So hold on a second. I need to mute I'm trying to monitor questions here. So I'm going to figure out how I can do that and mute myself. So today we're going to talk about creating a video podcast series. And I know, Scott, you have done this with great success and your video podcast. So first, tell us about your video podcast, who's on it, why you started it, and what you talk about.
Yeah. So this actually isn't the first time I've done this. We had we did a radio show with it had to have been 5 or 7 years ago at the local college. So local college had a radio station, and we went in there and we would talk about real estate and mortgage once a week for 2 hours, and we would bring in webcams and my laptop, and I would duct tape the webcam to the door so that you could see everybody. And then we couldn't live stream back then. They didn't have live stream,
Right.
But we would publish it on YouTube. And today, so it's probably been almost 18 months that Dustin Stevie, who's CEO of Lighthouse Escrow in Irvine, California, and Ricardo Bueno, who is, even though he's a very young man, he is a very old school marketer in the real estate space, and kind of I don't even know what to call Ricardo. He's just an amazing marketing mind. He understands tools, systems, technology. And the three of us would get along. The three of us would sit in Dustin's office on a weekly basis, and we would talk for hours about marketing stuff. And at one point, we just said, I wonder if anybody else would be interested in what we're talking about, because we were fascinating ourselves. like Ricardo would say something, and I would be like, dude, that is brilliant. And then it was in the ethers and nobody knew about it. And so we said, you know what, let's start something. So it's called the Marketing Trench. We try to do it almost every Friday. We use StreamYard. We live stream it to YouTube and Facebook. And we mostly talk about the stuff that we're actually doing in our businesses. That's where the trench comes from. We're not outside the business. We're not vendors. We're technology agnostic. And man, I got to tell you, it is so much easier today to do this than it's ever been. Back when we were doing the radio station, there was so much post-production work that went into, and you had to have memory cards to hold all of the video, and then you had to do all the post-production stuff and publish it. But nowadays we can turn on a tool like StreamYard, and StreamYard isn't where we started, but it's where we ended. We tried a couple of other different tools, and we weren't super interested in doing production on the fly. even though StreamYard makes it really easy, like you just popped up something there on the screen, and we can absolutely do that with BeLive, but there's no post-production work when we're doing this. So this opens an unbelievable number of doors, at least for me, for creating content. Imagine yourself. So if you're a lender and you work really close with realtor partners, imagine doing this once a week and getting the real estate agent and the lender together and having a conversation about buying in your local community. What is it like to buy in Tampa, Florida, say, right? You know, it's a crazy seller's market out there, and you have discussions about people that you've actually helped buy homes, how many offers you had to make, what it was like to negotiate it. If you have that conversation in what is essentially a Zoom call right here, we're now live streaming to both Facebook and YouTube. And you can live stream it to multiple Facebook pages. You can live stream it to Facebook groups. So if you're one of those people that were smart enough to create or early enough to create a local group, like a community group on Facebook, not for real estate or mortgage, but just for a community. And if you're the admin on that, you can have conversations. You can live stream it to almost anything.
Right.
And now you've created content, you've produced the content, you've published the content, and you're ripe for promoting that content, because everybody that watches it, if you're talking about something interesting, you're streaming to these social platforms, and all of your listeners and people that are following you can share it right there. And all you literally did was turned on your webcam and had a conversation.
Yeah, which is what we're doing right now, you know, and you know, started the Mortgage Video Mastermind Facebook group just because nobody in mortgage is really talking about video. And, you know, Carl White and I had a conversation about that the other day. There's a lot of real estate groups that have been created that talk about video, but nothing in the mortgage industry. And so, you know, look for that where you can create that group, because honestly, and for me, when I created the Mortgage Video Mastermind group and decided, hey, you know, started off with just you know, 15-minute Friday we started off, and it expanded from, you know, we're talking more than 15 minutes because everybody's joining in. It's like joining the conversation, and we're getting other people to join. So you don't have to do it on your own. And that's what I loved about what you did, is you had other people join in. So if somebody necessarily, you know, doesn't feel like, hey, you know, I don't want to talk the entire time, it's just having a conversation, being able to share that information. So don't feel like you have to go it alone. And I think that's a lot of it. Sometimes in video, you're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know where to start. Have a conversation. And if you don't want to do Facebook Live, so, you know, I did last year at the beginning of COVID, when we had our shelter in place rules, it just, you know, everybody had that feeling. It's like, oh my God, it's 2008 all over again. And little did we know the industry was going to take off in the mortgage industry, and everybody had record years. We, for a lot of us, thought the exact opposite was going to happen, right? Who could have foreseen what actually happened? Yeah. And so I said, you know what? We've been through this before. And I know I managed a team at the time, and it's like, we have to get ahead of this. And so I started the series, a video series, and it was just a mini series called Flatten the Curve, Not the Spirit. And I think we had a total of 12 in the series. So you don't even have to start something to where it's ongoing. You know, if you want to do something that is just that, a mini series. Yeah. I didn't do live because everybody was kind of crazy, but we were all remote. So I set up a Calendly link. So, and I just started inviting people. I put it out on Facebook. It's like, hey, I'm starting a mini series. We're calling it Flatten the Curve, Not the Spirit. You want to hop on and do a video call with me? We'll talk about what you're doing, what you're, you know, doing within your organization, within your family, within your community to stay positive. And that's what the series was all about. And I had a ton of people hop on, and I recorded it. So we just did a Zoom meeting. I recorded it. We didn't do any editing because we didn't need to. So it's just like you do in a podcast, but it was on video.
Mhm.
And then we just started producing those, and I think we posted 2 a week. So I think we posted on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it was great. And we put it out there, put it onto YouTube, and people were sharing it, and it was just something about completely different. We weren't talking about anything in mortgage. We were just talking about what are you doing to stay positive. And so we submitted that series to the Telly Awards, which is typically a television syndicated. There's a lot of awards that are from ad agencies for commercials and documentaries and things like that are given for Telly Awards. And we submitted it, and they've had a lot of recognition now. It's being done for non-published content. So they're looking at, what is being published on YouTube, what are some of the series. And we won 2 tellies with the miniseries that we did. One was in education, and one was in video talk show. And so, it's just those kind of things that you think about that you can do that people are looking for. And it doesn't, even if you don't want to do a Facebook Live, you can go and we can record it and then post it out. And YouTube is great because you can set it up to where this is going to post on Tuesday, set it up ahead of time. This is going to post on Thursday, set it up ahead of time. So you can spend just a little bit of time getting it together and invite other people. You could do that with real estate agents. You could do that with insurance agents. We have a client of ours up in Seattle, and he goes out to lunch and does 2 things in his videos. He brings them along with him. So it could be an insurance agent, it could be a realtor, could be an appraiser. And then he goes to a local restaurant. So he talks a little bit about, the restaurant and the community, and then they talk about something within the industry. So combining those 2 can be very helpful as well.
And I think that's brilliant because, we've touched on this a couple of times about how you create content. And I think lifestyle content is super important. And I think sometimes that's the pressure that creates the hurdle for a lot of people to get started. It's like, because I know me personally, when I'm creating content about mortgage, I'm almost boring myself to death. I'm like, who would ever want to hear about this stuff? But you would be amazed. There are literally thousands, tens of thousands of people that care about this stuff and that listen to these things. But the lifestyle stuff is super important because what you're doing there is you're really engaging in, you're creating leverage and authority, right? And sometimes just that authority as a local expert, you inherently get the trust for whatever your profession is. Like if you mention that you're a real estate agent, or you mention that you're a lender, and I'm sitting here talking to this local business person and this insurance person, nobody's sitting there asking, well, I wonder how good they are at mortgages. They're just watching you, and they're like, wow, that's kind of a cool person. They understand this community and they understand this area. And then the pressure is completely off of me because I'm just having lunch with an insurance agent at a local restaurant and trying to support them. So there's nothing, and that's kind of that you're doing it anyhow. So just turn on the camera and turn it into something that's going to work for you perpetually because it's published online.
Right. And it doesn't have to be like, he doesn't bring a video camera crew with him. I don't have my team up in Seattle. He, honestly uses his phone, puts it on a gimbal. And, he has it to where he walks in and he's taping himself walking in. He'll sit down with the owner and do a nice little introduction there, sets up his phone, and then, he just edits. He videotapes a lot of different things. It's not sequential that he tapes. It's sequential from what he's doing, but And then he just sends us all his footage, and then we put it all together and put music and everything to it. So you don't have to overthink it, but you do have to make sure, number one, you're doing it consistently. So I think that's the number one thing, and we've talked about this time and time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kyle, that was his biggest success, is that consistency. That's what YouTube looks for as far as gaining numbers and doing that. And then, you know, deciding what lane are you in and being able to build around that. So I think that that's very important. And Kyle talked about that. You know, we were talking about someone that you helped get started onto their lifestyle brand several years ago in Kona. And so, you know, I love this story. I want to get her onto our call sometime, but tell me a little bit about what she's doing in Kona.
Yeah, we had a conversation a few years ago, and she moved her family from the Bay Area to the Big Island during the crash. And they went back and forth. They have 2 kids, and she really wanted to start like a lifestyle blog. Well, I was having a conversation with her, and she's been in the real estate space forever. And we started talking about building a blog around a lifestyle and more around allowing people, middle-aged people, to live vicariously through this family that picked up from California and went to a tropical island to start their life. And what a cool story that is as they sort of explore the area and figure out where to live and what are all the cool attractions. And so the theme was more lifestyle than it was about real estate. And then a couple of things that are really, really cool happened out of this. So they went and got their real estate license and started really focusing on conversations about the island and about the lifestyle. But what they were really ultimately trying to do is to get people that were interested in moving to the island, referring them to a real estate agent and collecting a referral fee because they were a licensed real estate agent. And so she started working on this, and she texted me yesterday, and they just hit 5,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel. But she basically said that they are referring real estate hand over fist, and they're basically making a living now off of this YouTube channel that's less than 3 years old. And it's not about how to buy a house. It's about what your life would be like if you moved to a tropical island like we did. And it's absolutely amazing. But one of the things that came out of this that I think is so important is it was a couple. So she's mostly on camera. Her husband learned how to produce video. He bought drones. He learned how to fly drones, and he learned how to do the post-production. So she's the talent and he's the production. So as a couple, they don't have to go out and hire this stuff.
Right.
We both know, and we've talked about this a million times, the post-production tools, the editing tools are not that difficult to learn anymore. Most of them are drag and drop and chopping it up, and it's very visual. But this team was amazing. At one point, they just put a webcam out on their balcony and just live streamed sunsets in Kona. How amazing is that? And they would get hundreds of people that would watch it live and watch the sunset over the ocean every night.
I love it.
Right? And I mean, what better way to encourage people to move to the island than to just show them the beauty of it? But it's that outside of the box. It's what I love about this, and I get embarrassed because she tries to give me credit for this, and I can't take any credit for it because she executed. But the conversation that I had with her that I was adamant about is you can build your business without talking about your business. There are other ways to have conversations that will make people naturally interested in who you are and what you do and want to know more.
Right.
And so, yes, they are in real estate. They make all of their money from real estate. but they run a successful website and YouTube channel. They even sell swag now on their yeah, they sell hats and t-shirts and stuff. And she can't walk around the island without, I've been out there when people have approached her and said, we came here because we watched your YouTubes. I've been sitting at a place drinking coffee with her at a cafe and had people walk up to her that had never met her before, but they felt like they've known her her entire life.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. And she has this whole following now of people that are literally going to the island and thinking about moving their families there because she just talked about the adventure.
Right. Well, and again, this goes back to knowing that you don't have to always talk about mortgages,
Yep.
real estate, that you can sprinkle a little bit in, but showing your personality and who you are and getting in front of the camera is what it takes. Because they feel like they know you. And, you know, I've been doing video for a long time. Not on YouTube, but within the industry. And so I'll have that happen when I'm at events where somebody will come up and talk to me and I have no idea who they are. And it's, you know, one of those things that you don't know them, but they know you.
Yeah.
And depending on how much you share, you know, that's so much a part of it. And, you know, Carl White and I had a conversation earlier this week just talking about that. His whole business, he started off a video and he, you know, knows that leads to his success because people got to know him and decide if they wanted to do business with him based on seeing him on video. And that's what happens with video. So it's just a matter of getting out there and doing that and not being afraid to be yourself. Be able to, you know, if you're a humorous person, you know, be humorous. Obviously, you know, you have to be sensitive as well. Nowadays, it's important to be aware of that. But, you know, don't be afraid to be yourself and let that come through. I was recording a video for a client this week, and he started off, he had a script and he was trying to read it. And I said, okay, drop your script. I want to see you. I just want to see you. Just have a conversation. And so I teed up a couple questions for him, and the difference was just night and day. And so the last take we ended up getting was him just being him and talking about himself and laughing and you know, it came through on the video. Before, he was very scripted, he was very stiff. You know, I'm like, Robert, that's not you. That's not who you are. You know, you're a passionate guy about the business. You're, you know, a trustworthy guy. I mean, that's what's going to come through. And I said, and you have this wicked sense of humor too. So don't be afraid to use that. And as soon as you let that down and you stop worrying about what you look like and how you sound, and you become who you are and your true essence, then you're going to have success with video. So I'm not surprised that she's had success sharing, and especially if she's sharing about, you know, things that people can relate to and they see themselves in them. So I think that's really cool. So I want to talk about, because we're kind of getting closer on time, I want you to share what's happening with your little video podcast that you're doing right now, because you have some exciting things that happened as far as getting syndicated.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny. You say just be yourself. If you've ever seen our Marketing Trench podcast, we're ridiculous. It's just three guys that are just.
You're not even ridiculous. You're redonkulous.
We're ridiculous. We're just so dumb. We're immature and we bag on each other really hard, but we talk about really interesting things. But the only reason we do it, and we went into it saying, you know what, I don't care if nobody ever sees it. Let's just be ourselves and do it. Well, a local television station wants to syndicate our weekly 1 hour podcast. So I have no idea why. I can't imagine that what we're talking about would be interesting to any general audience. But you know, when you think about that, if you're engaging and you're having these engaging conversations, there are a lot of media places with a 24/7 news cycle. Your local newspapers, your local radio stations, your local news stations, just your local cable stations, they need content. So if you're creating content about your community or about things that are interesting, you know, we didn't purposely do it, but we used to talk about this a lot when we were talking about creating content, like writing articles for the local newspaper. This was 10, 15 years ago, we would talk about that, right? Become a local syndicated columnist because everybody's looking for content. But
Right.
now it's so easy to share this. So our Redonkulous podcast may be syndicated on a local obscure channel 1142 in Los Angeles somewhere, because somebody thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you don't know. I mean, I literally get calls or contacts a couple times a month from really interesting people with really great opportunities that happen to see like us having a conversation like this. Yeah. Like I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday who's building a new fintech tool to help loan officers. And he saw an interview that I did with Jeff Zimfer, our friend Jeff Zimfer, Mortgage Marketing Institute. And we were just talking about things, and he was like, I saw you on this podcast and you sounded like somebody I wanted to bounce some ideas off of. So I'm telling you, just putting it out there and being open to the opportunities, it's almost impossible if you don't quit. It's almost impossible to not succeed and not have doors open, and you can't anticipate it. You're not going to ever be able to, you couldn't plan this stuff in a million years. The only thing you can plan is to consistently put yourself out there.
Absolutely. And that's the key, is to be able to build that consistently. So speaking of consistently, we are here every Friday, and we also have been asked for our mortgage video mastermind calls that we've been doing to share the videos on a platform that is relatively new to the mortgage industry that's called Mortflex. And it's the Netflix. So it's Mortflex. It's a Netflix for the mortgage industry.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, exactly. And so we are very excited about this, and we're in the process right now of putting that together. And so again, it's just being out there and just sharing it, and you never know, just like your call for getting onto your syndicated television show in LA, and that could go to something else, to being able to take this and to build it. But the main thing is, number one, get started. So if you're listening to this today, first of all, thank you for joining. If you're watching recording, thanks for watching the recording. But make a commitment that you are going to start doing something with video. And if you need help, that's what the Mortgage Mastermind group is all about. Ask questions, look for resources. Scott, we have a lot of tools that we're going to start talking about, some different systems that we're going to start bringing in and sharing that information. So make sure and stay tuned. But the main thing is, pick up your phone. Doesn't have to be fancy. Grab your phone, get out there and start shooting some video.
Yep. And there's some really smart people and some very giving people in that community. You can get a lot of support and a lot of help. And they'll all tell you the exact same thing. Just get started. Worry about everything else later. Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we thank everyone for joining our Mortgage Video Mastermind. Scott, thank you so much for joining. And I hope you have a good weekend. And we look forward to seeing you next week.